Welcome everyone to today's Explainer Masterclass. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here in our digital studio. Look, today we are going to completely transform the way you use literally the most powerful tool you own. We're taking those everyday kind of spontaneous mobile snapshots and elevating them into high-quality professional photographs. Whether you're an absolute beginner or just someone who loves snapping daily moments, this masterclass is designed to unlock the true potential of that camera you carry with you everywhere.
I actually want to start our session with a quote that really captures the heart of what we do as modern photographers. The more important is you don't need much equipment or have to leave your backyard to get started. I mean, what an empowering mindset, right? You don't need to drop thousands of dollars on heavy, bulky lenses or book a flight to some exotic location just to create stunning art. The best camera in the world? It's simply the one that's already in your pocket, ready to capture the beauty right in front of you.
So, here's our syllabus for today's explainer. We'll cover your pocket photography studio, decoding your camera gear, pro shooting techniques, advanced photographic modes, the digital darkroom, and finally, organizing your portfolio. Let's dive right in.
Module 1, your pocket photography studio. Now, before we can start creating masterpieces, we really need to understand the foundational layout of the digital studio we're working in. If you're an iPhone user, looking at that familiar standard Apple camera icon, your learning curve is beautifully streamlined. Apple devices universally share the exact same camera layout. But if you're rocking an Android, just a quick disclaimer, Android operating systems present a bit differently depending on the manufacturer. Someone with a Samsung might have a slightly different setup than a student shooting on a Motorola. But hey, don't worry. While the buttons might have a different coat of paint, the core principles and features we're discussing today, they apply to absolutely everyone.
Module 2, decoding your camera gear.
All right, as a professional, you've got to speak the language of your equipment so you understand exactly what your smartphone is doing behind the scenes. So the first crucial point we need to address is the great megapixel myth. We hear marketing campaigns boasting about megapixels all the time, right? But what are they really? Well, the resolution of a smartphone camera is measured in megapixels, with each one equating to literally 1 million pixels. And while it tells us the level of detail a camera can provide, it is definitely not a strict measure of overall camera quality. For your everyday phone photography, a standard 12 to 16 megapixels is perfectly sufficient to take breathtaking images. You really only need those massive 20 to 40 megapixel resolutions if you plan on doing some heavy cropping or printing giant physical photos.
Beyond just resolution, you've got these incredibly dynamic features right in your pocket gear. Take the live photo, for example, or as it's known on some Android devices, the motion photo. It's usually represented by this little concentric circle icon. Turning this on allows your camera to capture what happens 1.5 seconds before and 1.5 seconds after you hit the shutter, and that includes the audio. It's a real game changer because it turns a static image into a tiny breathing memory. You shoot it just like a normal photo, and you can easily toggle it on or off right there from your main screen.
Look, I know stepping into the camera app can feel a bit overwhelming with all those icons staring back at you. But let's look at these two interfaces side by side. We've got an Android on the left and an Apple on the right. Despite the different aesthetics, guys, they function identically. You always have your central shutter button, that big circle right at the bottom. You always have a viewfinder showing what the camera sees. And you can always tap the screen to activate your focus. Whether you're swiping through the options on an iPhone or looking at the grid menu on an Android, your foundational tools are exactly the same.
Module 3, Pro Shooting Techniques. Okay, now that we know our gear, let's head out into the field. This is where theory becomes practice. I want you to basically memorize these rapid-fire pro rules before every single shoot. First off, clean your lens. Grab a microfiber cloth because a smudged lens absolutely ruins great shots. Second, utilize natural lighting whenever possible, but try to avoid direct sunlight because it creates incredibly harsh, unflattering shadows on your subjects. Third, do not be afraid to take a ton of shots. You can always delete them later, so just keep hitting that shutter button. Fourth, always tap your screen to focus exactly on your subject. Fifth, avoid pinching the screen to zoom in. Digital zoom drastically reduces image quality, so just use your feet and walk closer instead. And finally, keep your phone incredibly stable. If your hands are shaking, especially in low light, your photo's going to be blurry. Seriously, treat your arms like a human tripod.
Module 4, advanced photographic modes.
Our smartphones are packed with incredibly powerful software that acts like your own invisible photography assistant. Let's look at two of the absolute most important modes you should be utilizing. The first is portrait mode. Switching to this tab lets you take a professional-looking close-up photo by automatically blurring the background. It creates this beautiful, shallow depth of field that makes your subject completely pop out, drawing the viewer's eye exactly where you want it. On the flip side, we have HDR, which stands for High Dynamic Range. HDR mode is your best friend when you're shooting in really high-contrast lighting situations, like, say, a bright sky against a really dark landscape. It rapidly takes multiple exposures and blends them together to ensure you don't lose the details in the shadows or totally blow out those bright highlights.
Module 5, the digital darkroom.
So we've captured our raw materials. Now we step into the digital darkroom. This is where we take those captured images and really refine them into final works of art using your built-in gallery or Photos app. But hold on, before you even touch a single slider, I want you to really look at your photo and ask yourself, what actually needs changing here? We never want to just slap some random preset filter on an image and call it a day. Intentionality, that is exactly what separates a quick snapshot from a true photograph. So what exactly should we be looking for?
Well, we evaluate our photos based on these core editing elements. First up, brightness. Is the overall image just a little too dark or too bright? Next, check out your highlights and shadows. Are there unnecessary dark pockets hiding cool details, or maybe you need to lower the highlights because the sky is just blindingly bright? Then, look at contrast. Are the differences between your light and dark areas way too intense, or maybe they're a bit too washed out and flat? And finally, saturation. Do you want the colors to be super vivid and punchy, or maybe a bit more muted and moody? Trust me, evaluating these 4 elements will guide every single edit you make.
Let's start with what is probably the most basic, but honestly most powerful edit you can make, cropping. On both platforms, you just start by tapping the photo and opening up that edit menu. Then, select the crop button. It usually looks like a little box with arrows around it. From there, you can manually drag the corners to strip out any distracting, unnecessary elements in the background, or even fix a crooked, uneven horizon line. You can also pick a preset ratio, like a perfect square for social media. Once your composition is perfectly balanced, just tap Done on Apple or Save on Android. Simple as that.
All right, now let's look at adding a filter to really enhance the mood of your shot. Again, open your Edit menu. On Apple, look for the Filters button right at the bottom center. It looks like 3 interlocking circles. On Android, you just select Filters under the main Edit menu. Now, here's a massive pro tip for you. Once you select a filter, do not just leave it at 100%. Tap it again or drag the slider to adjust the overall intensity. A really subtle 30% filter often looks so much more professional than a fully saturated, over-the-top one. Once you dial it in perfectly, hit Done or Save. And hey, remember, you can always revert back to the original photo later if you change your mind.
Module 6, organizing your portfolio. Beautiful work in the darkroom, everyone. Now, to conclude our masterclass, we need to talk about storage. As you shoot more and more, you're going to accumulate literally thousands of files, and professionalism requires organization. First, let's do some digital housekeeping. Create named albums in your Photos app so you can group similar shoots together. Next, utilize that Favorites button. It's usually a little heart icon. Hitting that automatically drops your absolute best shots right into a specific album for super easy access. Luckily, your phone also does a lot of the heavy lifting for you, automatically dividing media into pre-made folders like live photos, portraits, and slow-mo. But most importantly, clean out your storage. Huge photo files, especially those portraits and old videos, take up a massive amount of space. Do yourself a favor and delete the outtakes so your device always has room for the next great shot.
And where exactly does this vast, beautiful portfolio live? In the cloud. The cloud is simply this massive online storage space where all your files are securely kept and they're accessible from anywhere with an internet connection. If your phone breaks or somehow gets lost, your art is completely safe. Android devices seamlessly integrate with Google for their cloud storage, while Apple devices automatically sync up to iCloud. Just make sure these are actually turned on and actively backing up over Wi-Fi.
All of which brings us to one final, absolutely crucial question for you. What will you capture today? You now have the technical knowledge, you've got the pro techniques, and you know your way around the digital darkroom. But remember, a camera doesn't make a photograph. A photographer does. So I challenge you, take that phone out of your pocket, step out into your backyard, and show us exactly how you see the world. Keep shooting, stay curious, and I will see you in the next explainer.